I believe it was at the end of July in 2015, I woke up and thought to myself, with full honesty, that I didn't believe in anything of Christianity anymore. I remember waking up, I had set up camp, I was hiking through the Appalachian Trail, and I was on the southern half of Pennsylvania. You do a lot of walking through cornfields in the southern half. It was beautiful, actually. But I remember waking up that day thinking, I have a master's degree in this. I have an undergrad in this. I was born and raised in the church. But I remember thinking, I don't believe in any of this. And then over the course of the day, I walked about 12 hours that day, roughly 20 miles. And by the end of the day, I walked back into Christianity. But it was a different kind of Christianity, it really was. Because I think before, I had a faith that was all about holding on to God. And by the end of the day, I think I had a faith where it was all about God holding on to me. It's a big difference. And we're talking about faithfulness today, the fruit of the Spirit. And you know what? When you look at the letter of Galatians in the original Greek, the word faithful or faithfulness is the word pistis in Greek, which is really just faith. So faith, faithfulness, trust, all of these are almost interchangeable, especially in the New Testament. What I had to find out that day in southern Pennsylvania, walking through the cornfields, was you can have one of two things. You can either have understanding or you can have wonder, but you can't necessarily have both on this Christian walk. There's something to be said, sure, about trying to understand everything about God, but there's another thing that says at a certain point, you have to leave behind understanding and just fall into wisdom and let it catch you and let it carry you. Now, so that's actually two types of faith right there, understanding and wonder. My question for you is, which kind of faith do you have? Do you have one that anchors your faith in understanding, or do you have a faith that likes to anchor itself in wonder? And I have to tell you, I've walked on both of those roads. And for me personally, wonder is where the mojo's at, right? So when I think about faith and faithfulness and trust, we've got to apply these words to wonder. Because how do you be faithful to understanding? It's a different thing than to be faithful to wonder. It's one thing to trust understanding, it's another thing to trust wonder. And I would even argue you have to trust. Trust is more real when it's cast on wonder rather than understanding. Now, I have some unfortunate statistics for you. Millennials and younger are leaving the church in mass droves. Why is this? Well, I would like to argue it's because we've put a lot of emphasis for you and your generation on understanding and not enough on wonder. To invite you into what does it mean to have a faith full of wonder. Abraham Joshua Heschel was a rabbi who often talked about the Bible is a legacy of awe, all these stories of wonder and awe of people experiencing God. But there's something to be said that wonder has to be inherited from other generations. Have you ever met someone who's older yet still has like that childlike twinkle in their eye at life? Those people they're somewhat magical. They're like wizards. They're like Gandalf, right? They're all these aged, wonderful people that still have got that glimmer of childlikeness in their eyes. And those people are the ones that have anchored their faith in wonder. One of the reasons your generation is legitimately leaving the church, and this is statistically proven, is you don't have enough interaction with people of other decades of life in the church. I was struck, and I'm the youth director, remember? I was struck when I saw this statistic that said Whether or not a church has a youth group or a youth pastor is actually like fourth, fifth, or sixth on the variables as towards whether or not someone your age keeps with faith through college. But at the top of the list was whether or not you have friendships with people of other decades of life. Whether or not you spend time around people that can pass their wonder on to you. That's what we mean when we say you pass the faith on to the next generation. And you know what? All of these wonderful people that we would usually see in this building, they do have a lot of wonder, and they're fantastic. Some of them have butted up against some of the hardest times of their lives, and then you know what? They had to put down understanding and take up wonder and rest in that, because God is beyond anything that we could ever think or comprehend or apprehend or whatever. Now, last and final thought, all right? Please continue being faithful to the ecclesia, to the church. I know a lot of people during COVID times have chosen to just walk away from church, to leave it and its teachings behind. Well, I would like to invite you to something. Was COVID, and its circumstances at least, something that helped to shine a light on where you think Christianity really is? Because if you thought Christianity is all about this building, then I think you've missed the point. If you thought Christianity was all about meeting in this building 3, 4, 5 times a week, I think you've missed the point. Because holiness, it's not like an attendance sheet. Oh, I went to the church building 5 times this week. What it really means to be faithful, what it really means to have faith, trust, wonder in God, has very little to do with the building and has more to do with the people around you in your life. I would like to invite you, continue being faithful to God, okay? Continue being faithful to the teachings of Jesus, especially the red words in the New Testament. Pay close attention to them, because those are definitely where the wonder is. Definitely. I understand that other parts of the Bible have got their own difficulties to understand, comprehend. Keep reading the red words. They're real good. But one of the most important ways that you can continue being faithful is actually living out those teachings of Jesus with the people around you. The church was never supposed to be a building. The church is too wonderful to just be a building. You know what I mean? To be a Christian is more wonderful than just going to 6 Bible studies a week. Maybe being a Christian and its wonder has to do with talking to your neighbor 6 times throughout the week and asking them how they're doing and how you can help them. Maybe being a Christian during COVID times, maybe it actually means having wonder and learning how to see God in everything and everyone, even outside of this beautiful building. I've said in the past, in other videos, that it's always good to take apart your idols before God has to do it for you. Now, I don't know what idols COVID is helping us to smash. I don't know. And you know what? Your idols might be different from mine, but you know what? It's okay. There's something wonderful when God says, hey, your priorities are a little bit off. Come and be faithful to the real teachings, to what all of this is really about. Because all of this is really about loving God and loving people no matter where you find yourself. And by doing that, guess what? You in your own life will be fulfilling the red words of Jesus when he said that those 2 things are our greatest commandments that we could ever follow in our entire lives. So let's wrap this up, shall we? When we come to this fruit of the Spirit called faithfulness, I already said it's this Greek word pistis, which means faith, faithfulness, trust, all of these. Like, it's a mix of all of them. It's not just one, it's all of them. May you have pistis this week towards God, the teachings of Jesus, and the people around you. And I promise that if you do that, you're going to feel your faith blossom in ways that maybe you never would have before. May grace and peace be with all of you. Be well this week. Be faithful.